I have gotten to know Josh a little bit in a couple times that he's been on this show. I got to tell you, from my heart, I like him very much. I find him bright. I know he's very gifted because I saw it last year again and again and again. I'm talking about big time, maybe all-time gifted, and he is deeply, deeply flawed, as we can see from his track record. Okay, back to the question. Is it possible that this test was caused by secondhand smoke? It is certainly possible. Without getting too detailed, the A sample was barely above the fail line, just barely a tick above it,
right?
just a tick, okay? And the B sample, oddly enough, was a tick below the fail line. Will that stand up in court? Maybe it will. But then, as much as this pains me to do, I think it's important that we quickly run back through the timeline. Sophomore year at Baylor, he's found asleep in a car with marijuana and he gets suspended. And then the next year, he gets suspended indefinitely at Baylor and decides that's enough, I've got to leave the program, if he was not asked to leave the program. And he winds up in Utah. And I don't know what happened in Utah, but he ended up sitting out a season, and then he never played a down at Utah. And he winds up in the supplemental draft, and he goes in the second round. And then a year ago in June, before his second season, he gets suspended for 2 games for violating the substance abuse policy. And now he is tested positive again for what could be at least the 3rd time in the National Football League, at least the 3rd time that we know of in the National Football League. Recently, he had a DUI, but that won't count in these hearing proceedings that are coming up this Friday. That's not relevant to these proceedings, but I think we have to take it into account that he did have an absurd DUI considering the circumstance that he finds himself in right now. He is on the thinnest of ice. I'm assuming he's going to be gone for an entire football season. And yet, I have not written this kid off. He needs somebody to tough love him. You know, please talk me off this ledge if you guys will, but I'm hanging in with this kid because when I look in his eyes, I see smart in his head, but I see flawed.
Herm, you could be the guy.
Well, I think we're all a collection of our choices, and he makes bad choices off the field. His history tells you that, and it's one thing about the past, you can't change it. It's there, but it also tells you something about a guy. And whether it was secondhand smoke or not, that has nothing to do with it. Whether the league decides to suspend him for a year or 6 weeks or whatever it may be, what does the club do? And we said this earlier before this came up. We said this 2 weeks ago when this subject came up that he was tested positive again. And we can all sit here and say, well, it's only marijuana. And I get all that. Look, I went to Cal Berkeley.
So you understand.
Okay.
You understand.
Look, I was at the Jimi Hendrix concert.
In the 60s.
I get it.
When he burned the guitar.
When he burned the guitar.
Yeah.
I get it.
The
Okay.
guitar.
And hey, if people want to smoke marijuana, they can smoke it. It doesn't bother me. I get it. I grew up with guys that smoke marijuana. But I also knew this. The guys that smoke marijuana, they said, you know what? I'm not going to be involved with those guys. When they got ready to fire up, I'm out. I'm gone. I don't want to put myself in that position. What he's got to realize is this. He always seems to be around the situation. He's got to remove himself. And we can say we don't like the rule, but here's the problem. In the National Football League, players are taught to play within the framework of the rules. We don't like the tackling rule. Guess what? If you can't change tackling, you can't play. We don't like the way the quarterback gets protected. I get it, but it's in the rules. You got to adjust. The rules of the National Football League say if you're tested and you test positive, you got 1 strike. You get 2 strikes. Get 3, you're out. So regardless of how it happens, those are the rules. We might not like them, you know, and we'll sit here and say, well, it ain't fair. Life's not fair. Life's about the rules. These are the rules. This is why we have a society that has rules. There's a yellow light when you come to every time you get ready to go. And there's the yellow light comes on, and it goes what? Some people slow down when they see the yellow light. Other people run through it. Well, I get to the yellow light, and I go, you know what that means? You get 2 choices here. I can slow down, or I can run through and try to beat the red. But the problem is you keep running through that yellow light, eventually, bam, you get in a wreck. Yeah. This guy's had a bunch of wrecks. He keeps running that yellow light.
He absolutely does. I mean, I think you're looking at a history. You talked about the bad decisions. I think Josh Gordon either is incredibly dumb or he has a really serious problem. And I'm leaning towards it's a serious problem.
That's
That's where I would lean towards. Yeah. And I think I think there's a chance he might get this year-long suspension reduced off a technicality. It's happened before. And the question was, do you believe him? I don't. I mean, I think you look at the history. You had a whole piece of paper. I couldn't fit it on this note card. The history of his, records and mistakes that he's made. But somehow he's got to get help. And sometimes tough love is what he needs. Maybe a guy like Herm Edwards could take him under his wing. I think he needs somebody in that position. And we were talking about it before the show. The changeover at the head coach position, the GM, there's only been one owner, but still, that is a lot of changeover. There hasn't been that constant, somebody to provide some of that support and strong leadership that he probably needs.
You got to take him off the field.
Really?
Like if I'm the head ball coach?
Yeah.
He's not playing.
Okay.
Not practicing.
Whole year.
Whole year.
Whole year.
Wait, but would you have let him be
No. First of all, he's going to a clinic.
You would do that.
Oh, yeah, right now. Hey, partner, here's the deal. The league's going to do what they're going to do, and they might give you 6, but when you're getting those 6, you're going to the clinic, and maybe after the 6, we'll have a discussion. But you might not play for a whole year, because I'm going to save your life. I'm going to save you from you. That's more important to me right now. Because if I can do that, you're going to make really good decisions off the field, and you'll make even better decisions on the field.
Right.
And that's what you got to do. Somebody's got to do it for this young man because his history, Skip just read it. I mean, this is like a repeat offender. It's kind of like, okay, I want to do what's right, but I can't help myself.
Right.
I can't help myself. Well, somebody help this guy.